Everybody today has a website. But when was the last time that you stopped and checked your own website to see if it's actually working for you? Is it driving the traffic, the leads, and the business that you expect in return for your investment? My guest today is Craig Burgess. He is Creative Director of Genius Division, a creative agency based in Yorkshire. And based on his extensive experience, he will tell you that your website probably sucks. Today, we're going to walk through his simple 5-step audit process for you to take a good look at your own website to find out if it is in fact performing for you as a business. And there are tips for how you can bring instant improvements. Also, we will be looking at the next generation of search. For a long time, it's been Google, but now people go to ChatGPT to look for something. How well is your website set up to take advantage of this new generation of search? So whether you are a corner shop that has a website to drive local trade, or a medium-sized business that relies on the internet and your website for business, or even a major global corporation, and you want to get the best out of your website, this episode and Craig's advice is for you. Let's get into it. Craig, thank you for joining me today. Now, you have built a business around helping businesses look at their website and work out the faults that people maybe don't even see, and then giving them some simple advice to transform it from just a presence on the web to something which actually generates leads and business. And that sounds like a really dark art. Is it really simple?
You make me sound like Malcolm Tucker or something after the thick of it. Yeah, I think it is pretty simple. I think in a lot of industries, we're guilty of overcomplicating things and we forget the basics. And, I'm trying to remind people that the fundamentals are not really that complicated, right?
So if I am a business, what's the point of me having a website? Why should I even invest the time? It feels like just everybody just needs a bloody website. So I could just do a simple thing, throw it up. I've got a website. I'm done.
Yeah. I'm hearing it more and more and more that people saying, do I still need a website? I did a video on it ages ago about whether you still need a website or not. I'm biased, obviously. I design and sell websites. There is some people, if you're a painter, a decorator, a plumber, maybe something like that, you probably get away with a Facebook page. There is people who don't need websites. However, if you want to, one, control the reputation, opinion of people online, if you want to control how you look online, if you want to drive leads through an online system, be that Google ads or Meta ads or whatever you choose to do, if you want to control all of those things, and if you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, you need your own website. Because if you leave any of that to chance, you're wasting your money, basically, especially when it comes to Google ads or something like that. If you're spending thousands on Google ads and you're not really controlling your website, you're essentially pissing the money up the wall.
Right. And it sounds like those two things go hand in hand, because on the one hand, you put up a website and it's pretty sad and lonely. It just sits there in the internet wilderness and no one will bloody find it. And equally, if you go and spend loads of money, because, you need your website to be found, otherwise it's pointless. So I guess what you're saying is that the two need to go hand in hand. You're sort of lead generation stuff on Google ads or Facebook or whatever, but then your presence on the website.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it depends. And the whole crux of this is if you think that you are going to put a website online and leave it, and I'm sure we'll get to this later on. If you're going to put a website online and leave it, then fine, do whatever you want with your website. However, if you want your website to be a marketing tool, and it should be the cornerstone of all of your marketing, whatever you're doing. If you're in that situation, you definitely need a website and you definitely need to be doing it properly.
Okay. And we're going to talk through quite a lot of stuff today. We're actually going to give 5 simple steps that anybody with a website can just go through, almost like a self-audit, and make some quick fixes to transform it from, like, I guess, level 2 to level 4, for example. Does this apply just to sort of mum and dad's kennel around the corner, or the plumbers and the electricians that you've spoken to? Or, if I'm a global bank, does this equally apply?
I see these basic mistakes being made by international companies versus local companies. We work with the full gamut of people, and you'd be surprised how many people are making some of the most basic mistakes. And especially when it comes to AI, the topic that I'm sure we're going to get onto later on
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, no, it applies to everybody. That's why I've tried to keep the tips pretty basic. And if you've seen my videos online, they're usually pretty basic too. I like to go for the so obvious it's almost controversial tips, right? That people are forgetting about, that people are not doing because people are so deep in the weeds of SEO, or everybody's deep in the weeds about ChatGPT now. How do I get found in ChatGPT searches and all these kind of things? People are forgetting the basics. So no, they apply to everybody.
And you mentioned your videos, and if anybody who is watching or listening hasn't yet discovered your videos, I strongly recommend that they do, because 1, they're really funny, and 2, they are painfully, what's the word I'm looking for? Like basic. You look at it and go, that's just total sense. So LinkedIn, I guess, is a good place to go. Look for you, Craig Burgess, on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Go watch your content. It's incredible.
No, thank you. Right.
So
First plug.
yeah, first plug. And I guess a lot of, particularly small businesses, will just go for free resources. They'll go find a template, they'll go to Wix or something and just kind of knock something together. Job done. I've now got a website. Is that good enough?
No. Sorry, I'm going to start swearing now because you've mentioned the swear word already. You've mentioned Wix. If you were going to build a Wix website, by the way, I fucking hate Wix.
Okay.
If you're going to build a Wix website, my simple advice is don't. So
Yeah.
pick something else. There is obviously low cost or free resources out there. I like Squarespace. It's the one I always recommend to people if they're not in a position, and many people aren't. If they're not in a position to purchase a custom designed and built website from someone like us, Squarespace is the good place to start. The templates are nice. It's professionally designed. Straight out of the box, it looks lovely, and the content management system is pretty good too. So if you are at that stage, please go use Squarespace. So they're all okay. I feel like Squarespace gets a big enough plug already on podcasts because it's usually sponsored by them. This one isn't, I don't think.
No.
But genuinely, Squarespace is the best one. If you're looking to go free or you don't have much money, just don't use Wix. That's the simplest advice I'd give.
Right. Okay.
The amount of people, you wouldn't believe, the amount of people that get in touch with me and say, I've got a Wix website, this is wrong or this is wrong. I've got a Wix website, I need to leave it. Can you help me? That's the only one I ever hear people talk about. So don't
And
use
then
Wix.
this wasn't planned, by the way. I didn't know you hated Wix so much, so I just seem to have pulled on the right thread there. And we're going to get onto content a lot more because, doesn't matter what template you pick, you've still got to put the right images on. You've still got to have the right words and all of the right elements. You've still got to put some work into the site, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's only the beginning. Once you've picked the platform, by the way, don't use Wix. Once you've picked a platform, it is only the beginning. The words, the images, potentially the video, They are the three most important things. As long as the design is simple and easy to read, let's face it, as long as you're not using luminous green as a color
Hmm.
on there, the thing that is most important is the content. I heard a figure years ago, it's probably not even anywhere remotely true anymore, but 75% of the internet is made up of words. So your website is going to be one of those two. So if the words are not right, let's face it, the internet was predicated on words. That's how it existed. That's how Tim Berners-Lee started it. So
Yeah.
if the words are not right, everything else is an issue.
Right. And now, if I do have a website, how will I know that it's not performing in the way that I want it to? I think and the expectation, as we said earlier on, is I throw up a website, I'm done. Now I'll just watch the leads flow in and maybe I'll get the odd one. But how will I truly know that I'm not reaching my potential on my site?
I think it first of all comes down to what you're looking for, right? So if you have thrown up a website and you don't have any idea of what you want to achieve, then if you have achieved nothing, you've done your goal, haven't you?
Right. Yeah.
Um, but if you throw up a website and you're like, right, I'm expecting business from it, therefore leads, so I'm expecting people to email me or something like that, then you have to understand what is blocking that, basically. An average, I don't want to get too technical in this stuff, but I think this particular mathematics, and I'm not good at maths, so this one's okay. An average conversion rate for most websites is anywhere from 1 to 3%. So if we're talking about a conversion being somebody filling out your contact form and asking to work with you or something like that, we need at least 100 people to come to the website to get one person to get in touch with us. So if we extrapolate that out further, if we have 1,000 people, I've kept it at one because it's easy. The maths are
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
If we have 1,000 people, the 1% return rate now is 10, right? So we need quite a lot of traffic before we actually start seeing anything happen with the website. So a lot of people, what they'll tend to do is that they'll launch their website and they, number one, won't look at the analytics. So they don't know how many people are looking at their website. They won't even have Google Analytics installed. So that is a tip I haven't even mentioned. Make sure you've got Google Analytics installed. That's one kind of factor. And if you're looking at those and you're only getting 50 views a month, then there is just no chance anybody is seeing your website. There's no chance people are going to get in touch because of the conversion rate thing. It's the same with social media. You know, if the generally an algorithmic built social media platform, they're sending anywhere from 1 to 5% of people who are liking and following you to look at your actual content. So if you've only got 10 people that have liked or followed your content, it goes to say that most people are not going to see your content. It's the
Right.
same with a website.
So I get that you need traffic. So maybe in this episode we won't get into sort of the funnel, how you get traffic coming into your site. But if you have worked hard to get it, once it lands, it's got to convert. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about content and structure and all the rest of it in a minute. But before we do, performance. If I've got a website that is really slow or it's just like really hard to use, does that get in the way?
Absolutely. Performance is one of the big key factors these days. It can be difficult to assess because obviously most people will look at their own website, they'll look at it and they may get in touch with someone like me and say, my website's running slow. What does that mean? The first thing to look at, if we're talking about performance, we're really talking about how it's perceived by something like Google. Google is still the biggest search engine, 70% of the market, or something like, might even be more. Um, and Google have a tool to figure out your performance. It's called Page Speed Insights. It's free to use. You just go over to Page Speed Insights, plug your website in, and it'll give you a score out of 100. That's the simplest way to understand the performance of your website. It'll come back with a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo, but when you look at the score, if your score is any lower than 90 out of 100 on mobile, the same on desktop, you have potential issues because Google's search engine is using that as a ranking factor. So
Right.
they're going to your website, automatically figuring out the performance, running it through their own tool, and then coming back with a figure. So that's the first stage to kind of understand on a baseline, basically, on a level playing field, because anybody can use the tool. What number is my website getting? Um, I like to encourage people to use that rather than going to their own website, going, my website feels slow, or my website looks slow, or it's loading slow for me, or my mate's dog has told me that it's running slow. I want to know a figure that can be tested across many people. So in simple terms, that's the one. If we're actually talking about performance, what does the word mean? What does performance mean? It's a word battered around quite a lot in the industry. What we're actually talking about is not just the speed of how fast something loads. So is there an image that's too large on the website? Is there a video that's too large on the website? Generally, does the website just load slowly? What we're kind of talking about is perceived speed as well. So if somebody goes to the website, does it feel slow, which can be legitimate, or is it actually slow? And then, without getting too technical with this, there's many different things that can cause something to load slowly. So it isn't always the website builder's fault. It can actually be your own internet. It can actually be your web browser, your computer, but it can also be other things. So it can be kind of on the domain level. So there might be issues over there, or it might actually be your website hosting and lots of other things. So it's one of the most important things, but it's also difficult to analyze yourself, which is why I always say go to that tool first. It'll give you a better idea. One other one, just one final one, is also GT metrics. Now, GT metrics will give you a bit of a more user-friendly thing, and it'll come
So
back
what are
with it.
GT metrics? I haven't even heard that myself.
GT metrics is just a website performance testing tool. It's just a website. So you
Got
just
it.
go over to the website, and it just gives you a letter score instead of a number score. So I think it goes up to F if I remember rightly. So A, B, C, D, and they progressively get darker colors as you go down the letters. So A is the best.
Mhm.
And it gives you again, like page speed insights, a bunch of things that you can fix that you could pass on to a developer. That's probably not something that you can fix, the majority of them, but you can pass on to your developer if you have one.
Right. Now, we're going to go through your 5 steps. We're going to get there in a second. But first, it would be great to get from you a couple of examples of what you've done. So, someone will come to you with a website that isn't performing. It's not generating the leads or the business that they want. You have worked on it and you have brought some improvement. Can we walk through a couple of real examples that you have delivered?
Yeah, so a recent client that we did was in the rather dull industry of laundry. So they sold giant washing machines, commercial washing machines. When we started working with them, they were running Google ads already. They thought they had decent websites and they were running Google ads. They were spending a couple of thousands a month to get 0 leads, pretty much 0. We had a good old look at their websites and figured out that the website were taking around 10 seconds or something to load. It
Right.
was insane. There were real issues with their website. So in that instance, when I was talking about Google ads earlier, you are literally pissing the money up the wall, and that's what
Yep.
they were doing month after month. So we rebuilt their websites for them, redesigned them, did a whole bunch of other lovely stuff to them, and now they're getting around 30 to 60 leads every month from their websites, running the same kind of Google Ads process. So that's how they're generating traffic. So that's how they're getting people to go from nowhere to actually look at their website. And now they've got a website that's working. That makes it sound so simple, it
Yeah. And,
hasn't
and,
been.
and by the way, were they, so there was some technical work there as well, but was that also predicated on the 5 things that we're going to go through today?
Yeah, yeah. We always implement all of those. One of them is a warning rather than a thing that you have to implement. But yeah, we always keep those in mind. The issues that they had were coming from the majority of the things that we're going to mention, particularly the speed. That was the thing for them. So when you're running Google ads to a website, they're always testing it. So Google are always automatically testing it.
Yeah.
And if your website is performing rubbish, as in it's loading slowly, that's a big factor. And your Google ads actually get cheaper when your website is better.
Right.
So not only were they wasting money on clicks, because when somebody clicked, it took 10 seconds to load, and they never got to the website half of the time. It was actually at a point where 50% of the time the website didn't even load at all. It was a car crash. So they were wasting money that way, but also the clicks got cheaper too because the website was better. Google perceived it to be better with their automated tools because it was built properly, it loaded quickly, the design looked better, the content was better, all of these things. So that's one example. Other one that we've done fairly recently, again, in another fairly dull industry. We kind of specialize in fairly dull industries. We were working with a glass manufacturer. So, yeah, fairly obvious. They make glass. They
Right.
had a website that was about 15 years old. I haven't seen a website that old for quite some time. And the website just wasn't doing anything for them. So it wasn't that it loaded slowly or anything in particular. It was just really old and it didn't reflect their business goals anymore. And because of that, and a side issue, that they didn't really have any calls to action. So if somebody went to the website, they didn't know what to do. There would be no reason for them to go to the website. There was no purpose to it, basically. So if you've kind of got a website like that, many businesses have, especially corporate businesses, especially rather large ones, they have websites where you think, why does this website even exist, right? What is the point? You might as well not have it. Just delete the fucking thing.
Yeah.
So they had a website like that. You look at it, you think, meh, bright. You make glass, cool. So we worked with them to make a website where there was, number one, a reason to visit, and two, put across their personality of their business, because the website was full of stock imagery. So a big part of this job was working with them to rewrite the content, which they did, but also taking a lot of video, a lot of photos of the actual staff and their actual team doing things, which I always think seems like really basic advice, but it's something that just so many businesses don't do, where you just go, right, put all your staff in a room or leave them doing what they're doing, and I'll come in and take some photos and video and we'll put that on the website. That seems like revolutionary to a lot of people because people don't want to show their staff a lot of the time and they don't want to show the secrets of what they do and all this kind of
Oh
bullshit.
gosh. Yeah. The
But
secrets. Yeah.
yeah,
No one
yeah,
makes glass like we do. Yeah.
yeah. It's just all bollocks. But luckily, they weren't like that. So we went to 3 of their sites. We took loads of photos and videos and designed them a new website that better reflected where they were at right now. So 15 years later. So the website is online now. It's full of Glasscraft, this one is called. It's full of photos and videos of them. The content is really good. But more importantly, the reason to go to the website now is twofold. So they have a quick quote tool on their website that we designed and built for them, which is fairly apparently revolutionary in the glass industry, where you can just go on, put a bunch of details in, gives you a quotation straight away. And then number 2, you can check up on your order. So again, super basic, super boring, but it gives people a reason to use the website, and they wanted to
Yeah.
turn their website into a tool. So now they're obviously getting more traffic, more leads. There's a reason to use the website for the first time. And when you go on the website, you actually go, oh yeah, these people are actually people and they make shit. There's no AI photos. It's actually, oh yeah, look, that's a normal human being. How
There's
revolutionary is
Dave.
that?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's kind of a theme that we'll probably keep coming back to. A lot of this advice is so basic and so simple, but it isn't completed or done by most people, partly because it feels so simple and so basic, but also because of the kind of world we live in now. Everybody's, and I think AI is becoming a little bit of an issue with this too, but it's not exclusive to that. Everybody wants to hide behind success stories or look
Oh
bigger
yeah.
than they are or obfuscate. I can't say the word obfuscate. Nearly.
Obfuscate.
Ob,
Is that
ob,
right? I don't know.
I
Yeah.
nearly said the word hide.
Hide.
Yeah. People want to hide behind what they actually have. So if they've got 5 staff, they want to look like they've got 50. And if
Yeah.
they've got 50 staff, they want to look like they've got 1,000. So many people are so scared of showing what they are through video and photos that the websites become so generic, and they could be for any company. I saw an Instagram reel last night about it was 2 guys going through, they were doing some kind of presentation. This is the kind of crazy stuff I get on my Instagram.
Oh, I've
Other
seen
than
these guys.
Yeah, I forgot what they're called. Wank
yeah.
economics or wanker
That's it.
economics or something.
Wankonomics.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes.
it.
They're brilliant, aren't they? Yeah,
They're brilliant. And he just said, this is the most popular phrase that all businesses use in the world. Our customers are at the heart of everything we do. And
yeah,
that's the kind of situation you get to. And they were showing loads of examples from banks to Virgin Atlantic to just everybody had a variation on their about page of customers are at the heart of everything we do. That's what we're at with most websites. They are so generic that they could be for anybody. You don't
yeah.
even need to
And
use AI.
and
They're
yet,
just generic.
weirdly, if you get one bloke in a little grotty corner shop somewhere in East End of London, hand making bikes, yeah, he makes the saddles and he makes the frames, and that's kind of what you're buying, isn't it? You're not buying 1,000 people in a bloody company. It's that bloke, it's Dave making your bike.
Yeah. I think at any level of business, in my experience, at any level of business, there's still always a human at either end purchasing the service, and all they want to do is just talk to a human.
Yeah,
That's it. It's as simple as that. They want to ideally talk to the craftsperson that's making the thing. That's it. And most people try and hide that fact that they are making the thing, or this guy's making the thing, or they're making the thing, or that they're even making the thing. And it's just kind of as simple as that, really. Went off on a bit of a rant there, but there's two good examples, I think.
yeah. Let's get practical now. So, like every guest, you have left behind something that the audience can download, and it's a document which lists out your 5 basic steps to go through. You can do it on your own website. You can just download it and go, okay, number 1, does my website, can I fix this on my website? Let's start to go through them one by one. Let's start with the first one. Your website doesn't tell people what you do. Talk more about that.
Simple one, this one, and it's one of my biggest pet peeves. Your website doesn't tell you what you actually do. So what I mean by that is go to any website now, particularly corporate ones, particularly people working in services, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
They're the worst culprits for this one. You go to a website, you click on it, and you go, right, what does this
What do
company
you do?
do? And it's as simple as that. What do you do?
Yeah.
And you're sat there and you have no idea what they do. You scroll the homepage, they say, oh, customers are at the heart of everything we do.
Yes.
We have a revolutionary, redefined process for blah, 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 blah.
Transformation.
Transformational process for whatever the fuck. And
Yep.
people, you get to the bottom of the homepage, you go, I still don't know what this person does.
What the fuck do you do?
Yeah, what the fuck do you do? And this is my biggest pet peeve. It's so simple to fix. Every single website we design and build, I don't instruct the client to do this. I force them to do it. At the top of the homepage, there is going to be some statement that simply states what they do for a living. What are you offering your customers? On our website, it just says, are you ready for a world-class website? Right, we build websites. We build good websites. Done. It's as simple as that. It doesn't even have to be something fancy, like some fancy marketing phrase. I think sometimes that gets in the way. It can literally just be, hello, we are X and we do Y. That's it. You can get into the messaging and other things below that, but right at the top of the website somewhere, your website just has to say what the fuck you do, because otherwise everything else you do on your website is utterly pointless. And
but I wonder, I mean, you do see those, particularly sort of, I don't know what they are, because you look at the website and you go, is it a legal firm? Is it a consultancy? I really don't know. But I wonder if they believe they're talking in some kind of secret language where the customer that's going to look at it goes, oh yeah, I understand these phrases and I'm just going to bloody hire you because I know what you do, even though it's not obvious on the website.
I think there's two things going on when this happens. Number one is that the first basic mistake everybody makes in business is that they think everybody knows what they do. So because they're so familiar, they've done it for often decades, they think everybody understands. I see this from solicitors and things like that a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so because it's so basic to them, they forget that it isn't so basic to everybody else. It's partly why I share such basic advice, because people forget that what's basic to you is not basic to everybody else. So that's number one. And then number two, I think genuinely people don't realize that because most people will be getting leads through their website or through referrals and things like that, they forget that there will be people who don't know who they are. So they'll come to the website completely from a Google search or whatever, or they've said, you should check these people out. They come to the website and they forget that some people won't know who they are. I don't think it's ego. I think maybe it is ego with some people, but I just think it's a genuine forgetfulness. Oh, how the fuck can you
Comfort
not know who
almost.
I am? I've
Yeah,
been in
yeah,
business for 20 years. How the fuck can you not know who I
yeah.
am?
We've been
I'm
on the
me.
high street. Yeah. So everyone knows who we are.
Exactly. So there's a little bit maybe cockiness and ego and also just forgetfulness that people think just because you've been established for 50 years, it doesn't mean that anybody knows who you are, especially just a random person Googling. And then also, further to this point about making sure you put it on your website, it just helps with search and it helps to clarify your website. There is nothing worse than a website full of jargon that says nothing.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so
if you
many,
make bikes, say you make bikes, and then someone who
yeah,
looks on Google for, I want a bike, might actually come to your site.
precisely. And because you're talking directly to your customer and you're not, I want to use the word I can't say again because obfuscate. I'm going to get it in.
Obfuscate.
I'm going to get it in
Yeah.
before the end. And because you're not trying to hoodwink the potential customer, because you're just talking to them like they're a human being. Again, I know it's revolutionary. Because you're just talking in plain human language, people connect to it. You know,
Yeah.
you just have a website to take the bike example. Yeah, we make bikes. Do you want a bike? Come and buy a bike. Simple as that. Very few people do that because a lot of people have not made websites before or not even written marketing content. They think it has to be formal. They revert back to school years. They think there's a formality that needs to be
Mhm.
there. In truth, the way to stand out these days is to not be like that. Is to just say, we make bikes, come and buy a bike. If you want a bike, I'm here. That kind of thing. I remember years ago seeing a website, isn't up anymore, unfortunately. I can't remember the name of the website either, but he was just a web designer. And his tagline at the top of his site was, I make websites, not shit websites, but good websites. And then as you scroll down the site, it just, a little bit of something. That was it. A little bit
Yeah.
of something. And as you scroll down the website, you just continue to talk like that. And he just said,
You know what you're going to get though, don't you? Like if you read that, you know what you're going to get. And then you go, yeah, I like that. And I'll engage.
Mm.
And also just coming back to the whole thing about say what you do at the top of the website, I get a sense that particularly bigger companies, they want anything that comes their way. You know, they've maybe 100 things that they could do. And they feel that if they say, we are really good at these 3 things, they might miss the other 97.
Yeah. But as the old phrase goes, if you're trying to appeal to everybody, you appeal to nobody. I think for some businesses, especially larger ones, it isn't as simple as just saying, this is what we do, because they do lots of things. But if that's the case, I often instruct people like that to have 2 websites or
Right.
multiple websites or landing pages or something like that that clearly sets out what they do rather than trying to have a conglomerate website because they don't want to have the pain of multiple ones. And the other thing to say as well is what you have to put on your website is only the things that you either want to be known for or you want to sell. If you don't want to sell a certain thing or whatever, it doesn't have to be on your website. It doesn't have to be an inventory of everything you've ever done for the last 50 years. It just has to be the thing that you stand for, you want to promote right now. So we, at Genius Division, do other things other than websites. We make brands and we do marketing and all kinds of other things. I'm only really bothered about websites and becoming known for that because it's what we're best at. If
Yeah.
somebody talks to us and needs a website and they need other things, well, we're here to help them with that, but it's not the thing I want them to contact me about. I want them to contact me about websites. So that's the thing that's on the site and nothing
And
else.
once someone's done that and you have helped them with their website, you then have a relationship and naturally the conversation will go to the other things.
Yeah, exactly. And through the process of doing a website, the other things often come out too. So they may need a new logo, so it comes out in those conversations.
Yeah.
They may need content or help with their marketing. It comes out in those conversations. So having a very specific message at the top of your site, what do you do, helps you clarify the website far more tightly than anything else will. Super simple, basic tip, but really important, I think.
Good. So that's number one. Make it very obvious what you do. The second one we've touched on quite a bit already, but your website is too slow.
Mm-hmm. This is the other one that can cause issues, particularly when we're talking about natural Google search. So we have organic Google search and we have paid Google search. So if you're running Google ads, you can discount some of what I'm saying, but still important. When it comes to your website, it being slow is a real strong ranking factor. And when I say ranking factor, I mean if you go over to Google, they have hundreds of ranking factors that's deciding where your website goes in their list of millions, if not billions, of websites now. If your website is slow, as in it takes a long time to load, 5+ seconds, 10 seconds, it has issues when it loads, all of those things that we kind of said earlier. If your images are loading slowly, if your video is loading slowly, all of these things, primarily it's an issue for search rankings. So if you want to rank in Google, speeding up your website is really important. The first tool I recommend to go to is PageSpeed Insights. So as we mentioned earlier, go over to PageSpeed Insights, put your homepage into there, and it'll give you a score out of 100. If it's less than 90 out of 100, you have issues that you need to fix. So your website being slow is important for Google, but also important for users. Because when somebody goes to Google, or say I tell you a URL to go to, and you click the link, and it takes 5 seconds to load, 10 seconds to load, you're not going to go on it. You've already got rid of it. We are inherently impatient. It's just the way that we live, and it's what the internet has done to us ultimately. We don't wait around for things. And that's especially important when you're researching something. So if you've got 4 or 5 links and you need to look at all the websites, if one of them is taking forever to load, you just click off. And we don't have the patience. The way that we use the internet is we're not reading a book. We're not waiting. We're scanning. We're looking for information. We're researching. So anything that slows that process down basically puts your website at a disadvantage. So your website taking 5 or 10 seconds to load will practically tank all of your traffic. No one is going to go there. Take the example I gave earlier. Company that they were paying thousands of pounds per month to Google to get people to click on their website. They were clicking on their website and never doing anything. They'd click off before the website loaded because the website was too slow. So it's a big topic, but a huge topic to fix and talk about. There is some simple things you can do. If it's built on something like WordPress as an example, a hugely popular content management system, powers about 45% of the internet. You can put something on that's called a cache. So there's many different plugins out there that do caches. WP Rocket's the one that I prefer. Just download WP Rocket and install it. Very easy to do. What that'll do is kind of save a version, an offline version almost of your website that makes it super quick to load. So stick that on, run it through PageSpeed Insights, and then look at it again. The other thing you can do is a simple thing like something you should do before anything else. If you're uploading images to your website, just make sure they're small. So what I mean by small is lots of people don't understand file sizes and things like that. If you're uploading an image straight from your camera, even your iPhone, the image is going to be too large. So you need to make sure you resize that image to the exact size it needs to be before you upload it. Image sizes is a major thing that can slow a website down.
How will I know what that should be?
What size it should be?
Yeah.
If you don't know what sizes in pixels it should be, look at the file size. So when we're talking about file sizes, it needs to be below something like 500 kbs, kilobytes.
Right.
So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4 megabytes, MBS, it's way, way too big. It needs to be smaller than that. So kind of look at the file size instead of the pixel size, because that'll vary per website. There's a really good tool that's free that I use a lot called Tiny PNG. you can just upload your images to that. It'll resize them and make them smaller, and then you can upload them to the website. I don't see
And
many clients.
if you're on a Mac, you've got Preview. Open up in Preview and do adjust the tools, adjust size, and you can see the size of the file go from, as you say, megabytes down to kilobytes, and it still looks great.
Yeah, we want to make sure they're kilobytes, and a lot of the time you have to remember. A lot of people still don't really realize this, even though we all do it. We're looking at our websites on our mobile phones. We're not looking at them on big desktops. So for that reason, the image can be small. In terms of width and size as well, we can often get away with images being much smaller than we realize, which speeds it up. And further to that, we have to remember that people are looking on mobile phones. Their internet is usually slower on a mobile phone, so you need to make sure your website's quick.
Yeah, and also people are not judging you by the quality of the image. It's the content that they see that resonates in their brain. And I remember when 4G came out on phones, it was so fast. And now we're used to 5G. And when I pick my kids up from school, as I'm waiting in the queue, I can only get 4G. Oh my gosh. Like it is so slow, and I get really upset with a website that doesn't load quickly. So you're absolutely right. So number 2, your website is too slow. The third point is that your website is crammed full of AI generated content and images. And I'm sure that a lot of people now are just going to ChatGPT, almost like, build me a website, give me the content, and then they just copy it blindly into whatever tool they're going to use and go, job done. ChatGPT is giving me the best content.
Yeah, because it reads fine, doesn't it? And it's often better than what you could write as well. There is a real way you can use AI. I'll get onto that in a bit, and if I forget, remind me. But there's just some facts to mention about this. So it's not, the phrase AI slop is popular now. I really like the phrase, actually. It's fun to say. But it isn't as simple as that. So you look on social, particularly LinkedIn or anywhere else, it's just full of AI generated content, and you can kind of tell. Now, I don't have an issue with the fact that you can tell. That doesn't really affect most things. What I have an issue with is a couple of things. The first one, again, we got to go back to Google search. If you are overusing Google, if you're overusing something like ChatGPT or any other tool, Claude or whatever, to write your website content, and what I mean by that is you've just gone into ChatGPT and gone, write me 400 words about widget generation or whatever I do for a business, and then you've just copy and pasted it into your website. It's an issue with Google because they are increasingly, ironically, even though they have their own AI tool, they're increasingly clamping down on an overuse of AI. Now, it's a little bit woolly, this. If you look at the spam policies, if you just Google spam policies, they have a section on there that's talking about the overuse of AI. And what they say, and I'm paraphrasing here, it's not specific, but what they say is, if you are overusing AI to basically game the system, so to game our algorithm to rank higher in Google, we will mark you as spam. And what it means when you get marked as spam in Google is that they basically derank you. So they don't usually get rid of you these days, but they just leave you stuck at a certain point. I have actually seen this with one of my clients' websites. And when I found that they had hundreds of AI generated articles on the website, I had to have a difficult conversation with them. The website still hasn't recovered. It ranks for about 10 keywords or something in Google. It's terrible. So I have seen this happen. So this is not just a warning. It does happen. So what you need to do is make sure you don't over-rely on using ChatGPT to write your content. You have to make it yours. It has to be written by you. So a way around this is to actually write a rough draft, write as strong of a draft as you can yourself. It doesn't matter if it's got spelling mistakes, ChatGPT is going to fix that. Just make sure you write the bulk of it. So if you want a page, write 200 or 400 words and then put it in ChatGPT and say, make this cleaner, or make this cleaner but retain the voice of the original content. Now all ChatGPT is doing is fixing spelling mistakes and grammar and neatening it up, really. If you really must use AI, and I'm on the fence as to whether you should use it at all, if you're writing your content, you've got the money, you should hire a copywriter. But if you're in the situation where you have to, that's the way to use it, because Google are clamping down on it. Now, there's another thing to pay attention to as well. It's not just that; it's also images and also video. So YouTube is interested on this one. Many people may not be aware of it, but YouTube are also starting to clamp down on AI generated content. So they're demonetizing or not even providing the ability to put ads on a lot of these videos, content that overuses AI or that's AI generated. So we're seeing a trend in the industry of places, particularly Google, actually, places where AI content is becoming prolific and Google doing something to combat it. So you need to be aware of that and not overuse it. Quick point on the images as well. A lot of images that something like Sora, which is ChatGPT's image tool, or any of the other ones generate, they're full of copyright infringement. So it's not much better than just going over to Google Images and just dragging an image down, which you're absolutely not allowed to do. You can get away with using AI generated images for generic stuff. Maybe someone, washing a driveway or something like that. I've used it for things like that before. But if it has any logos, company names, recognizable cars, any of those kind of things in there, you aren't allowed to use those images. So you're at real risk of copyright infringement. And then what you end up getting is emails from stock photography companies, and then they'll try and shake you down for £10,000. I've seen this.
I've been there. Yeah, I did a website for a customer a long time ago. Just grabbed an image, like you said, from Google, used it, and Getty came for him, and they wanted 10 grand. I think he settled on £1,000, but they wanted 10 grand.
Yeah, 10 grand's always the figure they come at you with, 10 grand.
Yep.
So you're at real risk of costing yourself money if you do it. So I'm not the harbinger of doom, really, when it comes to AI, but there is real practical reasons to not be using it.
I mean, I'm definitely guilty. I put a post on LinkedIn about this just the other week, that I definitely use ChatGPT, and I became to rely on it. And it was almost like, yep, do ChatGPT and bit of tweaking and put it up. But even I realized that it wasn't genuinely me, like it just wasn't me. And I went back to like cold turkey really now. Just if I want to write something, I just write it, and it may be a bit shit, but actually it's me, and I find it lands a lot better.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was in exactly the same situation. For the last couple of months, I've used ChatGPT a lot to write a lot of the video scripts. And what I found a couple of months later, I'm going to do a video about it at some point soon. What I found a couple of months later is I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I wasn't enjoying making the videos.
I'm sure there's a part of your brain that turns off the creative part, the freedom part, whatever it is. I realized that. I was like,
yeah,
just churning out words.
And what's happened as well, particularly on LinkedIn, slightly off topic, but still relevant. What's happened, I think, is that ChatGPT has become so prolific that the style on LinkedIn is ChatGPT now. So people who aren't even using it are writing like it.
Yeah.
So the whole style is the same, with the little arrows pointing inwards and emojis everywhere and all that kind of thing. And there's always here's the kicker or something like that at the end of it.
Here's the
always
kicker.
always that phrase. Because it's so prolific, if you use it, you just look like everybody else. So if you just use your own brain, like you just said, and write your own text, may not be as perfect, but at least it stands out. And that kind of links back to some of the other points I was making about writing in plain English on your website, writing what you do. You actually stand out now if you have a voice. We're in the era of I hate the word authenticity, but we're definitely in an era of authenticity that people are craving it right now because of the can't say my words this morning, proliferation.
Obfuscate.
Given up with that one. Because of the proliferation of ChatGPT and other AI tools, we really are in the situation where if you put yourself across as a human, mental to say it, but if you put yourself across as a human, you give yourself a competitive advantage, which bizarre.
Yeah. But I mean, you've touched on something ChatGPT and the likes, by their very nature, are learning from what's gone before. And progressively, the output becomes narrower and narrower and narrower because it's self-learning. And now, as you've just pointed out, I hadn't really thought about this before. And now humans are actually going, that's how I should write. Therefore, the material they're putting into the machine is the same as the shit that was coming out before. So, it's getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the other things that people forget is that when you use ChatGPT to write things, it's a little bit like having 4 friends in a room. And when you play that game where you say, they used to do it on Whose Line Is It Anyway? So we're going to write a story. You're going to give me one sentence. The next person's going to give me a sentence. The next person's going to give me the next sentence. That's what ChatGPT is doing. It's using an algorithm to decide what the next best sentence is to the thing that you've just asked it to do. So what you end up getting is kind of a story, basically, that makes sense, but it's just algorithmically generated rather than a human going, oh no, that's not the way it should be. There's none of that kind of thing, there's none of that forethought going into it because they're just trying to write the next sentence after the other one. And then you can tell, like you said, I think in another 6 months, everybody's going to be kind of sick of it and everybody's going to be able to tell.
Yeah. The word I often use, and I'm really proud that I do use it, but it's artisan. And it comes back to what we were talking about. Like, if you make handmade bikes, you're an artisan, show that. And I think more and more people will kind of get a bit bored with the AI stuff and go, no, let me be me and like almost be that artisan. And so the third thing we've been through is like step away from AI as much as you can, maybe refine things in AI, but like try be genuine. And the fourth thing is that your website is all about you, and you even put in brackets, you.
Yes. So what I mean by that is that when you are writing content on it and not letting ChatGPT do it, when you're writing content, you are overusing the word you. So a lot of people, when they write content on their website, they talk about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they say we've been in business for 15 years. We've worked with X, Y, or Z. We've won these awards. We've worked in industries all over the world. We genre bending, all these kind of things. The cold harsh truth of it is nobody gives a fuck about any of it.
Right.
All they want to know is, can this person do this thing that I need?
What's in it for me?
What's in it for me? Exactly. What's in it for me? So if you are writing about yourself, you're just wasting words and effort, basically, because nobody really cares.
But don't you need to do a bit of that for credibility? For example, I mean, if you looked at a website and thought, he's never made a bike before, why would I trust him to make me a bike? So you need to kind of go, we've made 1,000 bikes, don't you?
I think that's better achieved through case studies, testimonials, other things like that. Showing, not telling, basically, because anybody could write the phrase, I've made 1,000 bikes, and it could still not be true.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to prove it rather than say it. And yeah, you can say it. It's fine to say it. But I think so many people say the same things that people are just blind to it, really. And by the way, if you are doing testimonials, I'd encourage video testimonials if possible, because they're better. So far too many people talk about themselves. That's kind of the crux of this point. And what I'd encourage you to do is start putting the word you in there instead. So what I mean by you is saying you as in your potential customer. So saying, here's how we can help you.
Right.
And if it's a kind of a rudimentary writing exercise, I think, when you first do it, because obviously if your entire site use the word you over and over and over, it'd be silly. But it does help you to think about the content, about what somebody's going to read, what my potential customer looks like, and talking directly to them. So talk to them, basically. Imagine you're sat in a bar. Imagine you've got a potential customer opposite you, and imagine what you'd be saying in that situation. I like the bar analogy because, or pub, I should say pub, we're British, not bar. I like the pub analogy because it helps us remember not to be too formal either, because nobody likes jargon. I've worked with small businesses and huge businesses, and everybody hates jargon. Nobody talks like that. So avoid it at all costs. Thinking about sitting in a pub helps you. So, kind of some examples of this, instead of saying, we've made 1,000 bikes, you can say something like, and not this because it's going to be rubbish, I'm saying this straight off the top of my head. Let us help you make your next bike. So something like you're talking directly to them rather than saying it in a different way.
That sounds like you're going to make my dream come true almost. Like
Yeah.
I've got in my head a picture of a bike that I want, and you're almost taking me there.
Yeah, exactly. Talk directly to your customer and help them understand how you're going to help them solve their problem. I think that comes automatically once you get in the headspace of talking directly to one customer in a pub, because you start to think, right, well, what are they going to want to know? What are their pain points right now? And the easy thing that people always do is talk about saving time or money or something variant of that. It's cheesy, but it works because you're actually talking to the customer. Here's how I'm going to help you save time by making your next bike for you or something like that. It's a cheap hack, quote unquote, but it does actually work, and you are actually shows you that you're caring about your customer rather than just writing about yourself. Because when you have a conversation with someone, there's nothing more annoying than a bore who talks about themselves all the time. You want to be asking them questions, and that's how a good conversation happens. We obviously don't have that advantage when we're writing content on our website. It's a one-way street. So we have to pretend we're kind of doing that. So overuse.
And I was thinking also about something like, say, a solicitor. They could say what they do, like I write wills, or I help you get a divorce, or I do some contract, but they're just talking about what they do rather than what it means for the customer. So we can help you sort out your estate. We can help you have a clean break or whatever it is you're trying to do. So if they focus on what they're doing for the customer, that's more effective than saying what they do.
Absolutely, 100%. So we're actually working with a family law solicitors at the minute. That a big part of what they do is things like divorce and will writing and all that kind of thing. And the phrase, I'm just looking at the site at the minute, the phrase at the top of the site is, we look after the law so you can look after the ones that you love. That's the phrase at the top of the website. So it doesn't directly say at that point what they're doing. Just below that is actually a list of their services.
But I understand it though. I get it. When I read that, I go, oh, okay, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and other things on the site, it says, we are here to help you with all your family law needs. Again, using the word you. It's speaking directly to them throughout the site. Why choose us? Our experienced family solicitors are ready to help you. It's an easy trick, but it helps, when somebody comes and reads your content, oh, they're actually thinking about me. And something like that, a family solicitor, it's important that you get in that frame of mind as well with them.
And then your fifth step is your website just doesn't look professional. What does that mean? I mean, I guess that we've spoken a lot about images and all the rest of it before, but what does that specifically mean?
It's a little bit intangible, this one, but I generally think that most people are quite good at knowing whether something looks shit or not. And if you have a doubt about your website that it looks a little bit shit, probably the easier way to put it is it's a little bit shit.
It is, right? If you think it is, it probably is.
Yeah, it's going to put people off. So what we're talking about here is basic design theory. It's the simplest way to understand it. So are the colors difficult to look at? Do you look at them and does it burn your retinas? Is the content difficult to read? So are the words too small? Is the font too small? Is it some kind of weird papyrus or something like that that's difficult to look at? Basically, when you look at it on a mobile, just a little bit too far away, is it too difficult to read? So what we're looking at here is, when I'm talking about professionalism, I'm talking about just making it basic and simple to understand. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid, is the one that I always think of with this. If you're not a professional designer and you're using something like, let's say, Squarespace, use the default template and don't change it. Don't start doing weird shit to it, changing the colors. Keep the colors as basic as possible. A black and a white is classic, and people always understand that, and it's hard to go wrong with it. So what I'm talking about here specifically is, does it look unprofessional by the design not looking very professional? So words, images, colors, all that kind of thing. Images can also be an issue. So do the images not look professional? This is where people often lean on stock photography instead. I wouldn't recommend that. Most people these days, they're always snapping photos on the mobile phone. If you've got an iPhone or a modern Android phone, they're good cameras. And just with a little bit of setup and watching a few YouTube videos, you can learn to take a better picture. Don't use a photo of you drinking beer in a pub on a night on your about page. Just think about professionalism. And when I say professionalism, I don't mean to look stuck up or be in a suit or anything like that. Professionalism here, what we're talking about, is simplicity, easy to understand, easy to read, easy to view. Imagine walking into an IKEA shop. That's the kind of vibe. Well, IKEA shops are quite difficult to navigate, but you know what I'm saying. The
You
classic
lose your life in there.
Yeah, the classic Swedish design look, basically. Nice, simple, clean. If your website doesn't look like that right now, you'll kind of know. And if it doesn't, it's putting people off. Either by...
And I know that this is a bit of an extreme case, but a website I really like now is the UK government's website. No pictures, no images. But man, is it simple to navigate and understand and read. They've really nailed that.
It's the perfect example of what I'm talking about right now. It isn't exciting, but it's easy to use, easy to read. They had a whole department working on it for a long time, a whole team of designers, and you can't go far wrong even copying something like the Gov UK website.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of GDS guidelines out there that you can follow to actually copy that kind of thing too. That's the mistake that a lot of people make, because a lot of people are frustrated artists and they want to put their own look and feel on a website. They want to, feel some personality every single time. And I'll say this now, legibility and simplicity needs to go above personality, because the personality is going to come out through the words, the images, the videos. The personality will not come through the design. And I make a living designing websites.
And where would I start? Would I start by thinking of design, colors, layout, and sort of the visual appeal of a site? Or would I start with the content and the words and what I'm trying to convey, the message? Where would I start first?
I'd always start with the content first. The content is number one, the most important thing. It isn't particularly something we've discussed in great detail, but simple, easy to read content that is of an age range, so a reading level of something about 8. There's a really good tool out there called Hemingway. You just go to the website Hemingway Writing app, I think it is. Just Google it, you'll find it. And it gives you a reading age at the side of the website. Also gives you a bunch of tips when you put your text in about how to get rid of complex words or sentences and things like that. It'll say, remove this adverb here or whatever. Making your content simple is where the personality is going to be, really. Again, we're in a world where everything is too complicated. It's written far too long, or other than TikTok, it's the only thing that gets to the point at the expense of lots of other things. But everything else is often too long. You have to remember that people, again, are scanning websites. They're scanning and researching. They're not reading your website like they would a book. Nobody does that. So you have to make sure you have headings, bit of content, heading, bit of content, heading, bit of content, because people are going to scan. So,
and I know this for a fact that The Sun, whether you love it or hate it, let's not go into that, but The Sun is the UK's most popular newspaper, and it's written for 7-year-olds.
Yep.
Because I know that everybody can read it and understand what they're saying.
Absolutely. Even though I was joking, trying to use obviate that word, there will be a bunch of people who don't understand that. If I wrote that in content on a website, and that would have a reaction with some people as well.
Yeah.
They would be like, who does he think he is using words like this?
Yeah.
It comes back to jargon, but jargon in a different way. You're kind of using words that's gatekeeping the kind of people that want to read the site, and you don't want to do that. You want to keep it simple. Then there is kind of a, I don't really know how to put it, but I recently read one of Bob Mortimer's novels. They're excellent, by the way. The Satsuma Complex, and the way that he writes in that book, it's so simple. He's almost writing it like a children's book.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But because it's so simple, it's so compelling and accessible and easy to read, and you don't feel like you're being patronized in any way, or like, say, reading Shakespeare or something. You don't feel like there's any hidden agenda behind it. And then on top of that, he's got lovely phrases and stuff in it. That's what you want to achieve with your website content. It must be easy to read, overly easy to read, basically.
Cool. So they're your 5 basic tips. And before we leave, I would love to talk a bit more about AI. So if we go back to the dim and distant past, sort of 2024 and before, it was all about SEO. It was all about page rankings on Google. And we've spoken about that a lot. And, sites were deliberately constructed so that they would appear very high in Google. And now progressively more and more people are just going to ChatGPT. I don't know, where can I find the best bike locally? And ChatGPT will give it an answer, give the person an answer. And then they'll nip down to Dave's bike shop because ChatGPT has told them. If I'm building my website, how do I get to play that game? How do I make sure that ChatGPT sends people to my physical front door and not just to or even to my website? But yeah, how do I rank high in GEO?
So yeah, you're right. The term GEO is the term that's kind of coming around now. It's very new. It's very relatively new, as in this is the thing that people are starting to care about but never really realized before. So we have multiple ways for a website to be found, obviously through ads and other things like we discussed, and also Google search and other search engines, and then AI tools, ChatGPT being one of them, but we also have Alexa, we also have Siri, we have lots of different other tools that are using AI where people are asking it a question and it returns a result. A lot of these tools, particularly something like ChatGPT, it's probably the simplest and easiest to understand, are using Google as a kind of a base, or other search engines as a base to find its results. So you'll notice if you go into something like ChatGPT, it'll say search in the internet and you'll see the little symbols. And one of them is usually Google. So all of the tips that I've given about ranking in Google are still important because ChatGPT is still using it. However, ChatGPT is also crawling the internet. So what Google is doing is crawling the internet. It's got its little automated tools going out there looking at people's websites, and ChatGPT is beginning to do the same thing. So this is how ChatGPT got all its information in the first place. It just scanned and downloaded a bunch of websites. That's why the images thing is such a problem, because a lot of it is artists' copyright that it's kind of stolen. Yep. To put yourself your best foot forward with this, there's actually nothing you have to do by default, because you have to tell ChatGPT that you don't want it to crawl your website. So if you don't put anything in your website at all, ChatGPT will already be crawling it. If you want to improve your likelihood of appearing in something like this, following the simple rules that I mentioned earlier, particularly around content, is important, because ChatGPT mostly people are asking it questions. ChatGPT is looking through websites to find simple answers to those questions. So if you can think about what questions people are potentially asking and you can put them in your website and provide the answers, you're at more of a likelihood of being found in something like ChatGPT for the answers straight away. So something I'm encouraging clients to do more and more is have a comprehensive FAQ section, frequently asked questions section, on their website that goes question, answer, in a very short answer, that's designed to specifically target something like ChatGPT, as well as the question and answer section in Google. You know, when you ask it a question, it returns just one answer.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing more and encouraging more websites to kind of go down the route of there's going to be a portion of your viewers that are actually interested in just getting the question answered. So by having that on the website as well, so having an FAQ section specifically that's designed to almost be a little bit like ChatGPT, we're understanding that actually some people are searching that way now. So people are not even just scanning websites anymore. they're not even researching. They're actually specifically looking for questions to be answered. So getting people into that mindset when they're coming on your website is also useful too. So short answer, there's not really anything you have to do specifically technically wise, but you have to think about your content a little bit differently in terms of question and answer, and also keep it very, very simple.
So almost pretend that you're going to go to ChatGPT, ask a question that you think your product, service, whatever could answer, create those questions on your site and answer them in a way that ChatGPT will like, and then you'll get surfaced, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
The one that you mentioned earlier about what's the best bike shop near me, that's kind of localized search. So ChatGPT is still using Google local search and all that kind of thing, primarily to return those results. As far as I'm aware, I'm not so
Right.
familiar on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it'd be doing it. The other thing that most people are kind of asking in ChatGPT is, when did the T-Rex die? Or whatever, those kind of, more simple question and answers. How do I get a no-fault divorce? Those kind of things. And then their sources are provided in ChatGPT. So those are the real advantages for a lot of people, I think, to get into ChatGPT search, to be provided as the source for some of the answers that it's got in there. So that's
And then
why
you
I'm,
can dive down into the individual websites. Yeah.
yeah.
Craig, thank you so much. This has been really, really interesting to go through. And I found you on LinkedIn, I think through a connection or something. And I watched one of your videos and I was like, this guy's a bit nuts, and the material that you do is just so funny and so good and so strong. We've scratched the surface here with websites, and I'm sure that we could go on for hours and hours and hours. And you've got like years of experience at going through it. If somebody has listened to this or watched this and looked at your 5 tips and thinks, you know what, a little chat with Craig would be all right, what should they do? How should they get hold of you?
So the simplest way, obviously, is through my website. So just go
Which
to
is what?
geniusdivision.com, go on there, click start your project. Even if you just want to chat to me and you're not wanting to start a project, you can just book a 30-minute call with me on there, no obligation. And we can have a specific kind of chat like this about your specific issues. I'll give you everything in 30 minutes. I'm not, gatekeeping anything in that kind of conversation. So that's the best way to get in touch with me.
And you're a very straight talker too, which I quite like.
Yeah, I try to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
it's
thanks
just
again.
sorry, I
Go
was
on,
just
should we
going to say it's just the industry that I work in. Our industry is full of people who don't talk straight. So it's the Yorkshire as well.
Yeah. Yeah. You're in a very creative field, and quite often those creative people are very flowery and they use lots of words that people don't understand and they kind of pose a bit, I guess. You're kind of the antidote to that, I think.
Yeah.
So, Craig, thank you so much indeed for coming on the show today. Your 5 tips are super. People can go to buildyouredge.org/downloads. There's a page that it tells you exactly what you can do, which is download free material, and your guide will be on there. It's amazing. Websites are sort of a dark art, which is what we talked about at the beginning, and you could get really complex and really technical about how to write the right stuff and how to build the right site and all those sort of things. But what you've done is you've brought the real simplicity, the real 5 basic tips that anybody could do on any of their websites, go through and put it in and get some immediate results. So thank you so much indeed for spending the time with us here today.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll do it again.
Cool. And if you're watching or listening to this and you like it, please share this link with other people and get them to watch Craig. And finally, please go and find Craig's videos and have a watch with them. Grab yourself a cup of tea. I guarantee that you'll be laughing for a good 5 or 10 minutes. So thanks for joining us, and see you again next time.